Healer.
So, Om Shanti, welcome all of you to the episode on perfection. And before we begin, we'll just spend a minute in silence to invoke the presence of the Supreme Being. So, welcome all of you once again to the episode 34 on perfection. Om Shanti to all of you, and welcome Brother Brij Mohan Bhai Sahab. We are very fortunate that he's with us and again sharing all his wisdom with us today. And a few things about perfection. The value is spoken a lot about, even in the spiritual context, but sometimes it's not really understood what exactly is the meaning of perfection. And that's the reason we have Bhai Sahab with us today. We call it in Hindi Sampurnata. So I'm sure he will really share his insights on what really exactly perfection is, not only in spiritual life, but also in Lokik life. So I'll just stop sharing the screen. I will now request Dr. Ashok Mehta, who's with us, to officially welcome Bhai Sahab with flowers. Over to you, Dr. Mehta.
Om Shanti. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Yeah, yeah.
I have great pleasure to welcome Brij Mohan Bhaiji, Chief Spokesperson and Additional Secretary General of the Brahma Kumaris, whom I have met first time almost more than 30 years back in the Office of Purity in Delhi in Pandav Bhavan. I still remember it was a wintry day and we were all in our shawls and had a beautiful chat. And with him was Asha Ben, and it was such a fantastic. I still remember this time when I met him first. Today I have to do a welcome with flowers. There is a beautiful bouquet of white chrysanthemums. In Hindi, we call them Guldaudi. In Marathi, they call it Seventy. And these are flowers which are very symbolic. They are packed with a lot of symbolism. They're basically the East Asian flowers. In China, they're called nobility and symbol of nobility and permanence. In Japan, they're symbol of the emperor. In our country, anything that is white is holy and pure. It also symbolizes health and happiness, love and loyalty, joy. And more than anything else, in some parts of Europe, especially Netherlands, those who are born during autumn, between September and December, if you give them gift of these flowers on a birthday, it's supposed to be very, very important. In some parts of Europe, even France, Belgium, and Netherlands, there are also the flowers which are associated with death. In other words, they put in dead bodies and on the graves. Baba has taught us Jiteji Marna. So I think for us, these flowers are very symbolic in terms of being holy, being happy, symbols of joy and happiness. And I'm sure Brij Mohan Bhai will bring out perfection in these flowers, which I'm presenting today. So thank you very much, Bhai Sahib, for being with us. And I've always remembered you for one thing, and that's your wit and humor. There's one thing you can never miss during your talk, and that's what we are looking for. Om Shanti Bhai.
So, Om Shanti. Thank you so much. Wonderful, Dr. Mehta. The significance, all value based significance of the flowers. And before I pass it on to Brother Brij Mohan Bhai Sahab for the talk, I won't introduce him. He doesn't need any introduction. He has many roles in the Yagya, in the Brahma Kumaris organization. But what I find is so great about him that he is always so ready, ever ready soul. And whenever I approach him, he's always ready to do the talk. So thank you, Bhai Sahab, immensely from the heart for always accepting our humble invitation. And as usual, I'll always introduce in the form of a poem relating to his specialities and also the today's virtue or value on perfection. So, as Dr. Mehta already told you all, that his talks are full of humor, but I also will say Bhai Sahab's talks are so full of clarity, there remains no chance of any disparity. He is indeed one of the eloquent speakers, which is indeed a rarity, and used to be once the chief editor of Purity. That's what Dr. Mehta told you all. He met him at the office there in Pandav Bhavan of Delhi. He is indeed an epitome of serenity, and through his yogi cheerful face, he gives us the glimpse of divinity. And a few lines on perfection, today's value. So, listening today on the value of perfection, let's free ourselves from the fear of rejection. Let there be no trace of sadness and dejection, because I am by all means God's very own selection. I don't need to worry about contesting any election, and being mindful, I need to be away now from any deception, Maya's deception to be particular, and make sure for self I now change my perception and be ready for my arrival in the golden age with a grand reception. So with this, I would also do a few housekeeping announcements, as we always do. I'll just share the screen again. Just quickly, all of you can start sending me your questions, because I'll be doing it in a question answer format. That's what Bhai Sahab prefers. You can just make sure that you send it to me so that I don't miss your questions. And the interpretations, sorry, they are not there this time. The announcement in the section is not there. Sorry, apologies. So you can see, click the interpretation icon, and there you are. You can get all the interpretations. So with this, I would move on to now the talk. So Bhai Sahab, you want to start with something on perfection first, and then I'll take the questions. Is that okay?
As you say.
Okay, fine. First few minutes you can start. Yeah.
So Dr. Ashok Mehta ji gave a beautiful bouquet of flowers, and we can say that flower in its full bloom is a symbolic of perfection. When you see any flower, you see creators or drama's perfection in it. Of course, today, perfection has also become a relative term. Each flower is perfect, but you will find, as Baba has said in many murlis, that there are flowers which are very colorful, but they have no fragrance. So those flowers are perfect in colors, and we will be seeing a riot of colors on Holy Day. And there is a lot to say about colors itself, but they don't have fragrance. There are flowers which have both fragrance and colors, but their durability may be momentary. So one would prefer a flower which is beautiful, which is colorful, which is fragrant, and which is more lasting. So that is why I said perfection today also has become a relative term. Secondly, there can be holistic perfection, like a general medical practitioner, and there can be specialized perfection. People call a holistic person today jack of all and master of none. So it is your choice to be either jack of all or master of none, or master of one and jack of all others. So with these remarks, I welcome your questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Bhai Sahib, for setting the tone. Now, what I'll do is in the first maybe 10 minutes or so, we'll take a few concepts, the spiritual, Brahma Kumari spiritual concepts of perfection. Then in the next 10 minutes, we'll go on some Lokik quotes about perfection, which are not really well understood. So I'll ask you those. And then the last 30 minutes, we'll go on to some practical questions on perfection. So at Brahma Kumaris, we are told about Sarvagun Sampan Sola Kala Sampurna. So I'll just translate it in Hindi, in English. So when we say Sarvagun Sampan, so it's like all the virtues, we are full of them, complete with all the virtues. And perfection is what we call Sola Kala. So it's 16 celestial degrees. So Bhai Sahab, what are these 16 celestial degrees, or it is just symbolic of something?
It's symbolic of perfection. You see, because 16 degrees symbolize full moon. So therefore, moon cannot be more full or fuller than full moon, because these days, even the language gets twisted, and we try to explain certain things. Jaise, as we say, Swarg se bhi sundar. Similarly, we say better than the best. So like that, we have started qualifying perfection also. So today, in today's context, we will concentrate on some real substance of perfection. So what was your question?
So actually, you have answered the question that it is symbolic. It is 16, is nothing to do with 16 figure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So moving further, the next question is, it's always very commonly said, even in the path of devotion, that God made man in his own image as a sign of perfection. So
Yes.
can you explain that, please?
Now, getting back to that 16 qualities, till some time ago, Indian rupee had 16 annas. It was divided into 16 parts called annas. So it meant that the complete rupee comprised of 16 annas. So in those days, there was no, this what you call present day use of, weight and calculations in round forms. So it meant only completion. So if a rupee consisted of 20 annas, perhaps we will say 20 kala sampurn and so on. So they compare it with moon, but one important thing is perfection stated in terms of kalas implies that it is not permanent. Because when we say 16 kala sampuran, we also have another well worshipped and very popular deity who is 14 kala sampuran in the form of Sri Rama. So when we qualify perfection with anything, then it becomes not a permanent but a temporary transient perfection. Now coming to your second question. I am forgetful, so please repeat it again.
Yeah, it is sure, no worries. God made man in his own image. Yeah.
Yes. You can delve upon the word image. What is an image? Image is just a shadow. It means that God did not make man like himself. But man is just a shadow of God. It means man does contain some of the attributes of God in a limited sense because God is one and the only one, and men are so many in numbers and go by crores. And today we want no more men to add to the population. I mean to say quantity reduces quality. Once upon a time, God made man, not man actually, because they are not aware of the deities. God made the deities in his own image.
Okay, thank you. So, moving on further, as all of you know, Bhai Sahib mentioned about something called Murlis. So, for people who are new here to the Brahma Kumaris terms, I would just want to clarify Murlis are the spiritual teachings of the Almighty, which we really refer to in our daily spiritual classes. So, since we are on the image of perfection, so if I can just tell all of you that. These Murlis, which we call from 1969 to 75, Bhai Sahib, these 6 years, there are a lot of spiritual pearls on this perfection. So I'll just take a few of them. It was on 23rd Jan 1973. There, the Supreme Almighty told us that if you want to become a constant image of perfection, then you need to have 4 specialities like pillars. And what are these 4 specialities? It was being an embodiment of knowledge, being an embodiment of virtues, being an embodiment of being a great donor, and fourth, being an embodiment of remembrance or tapasya. So you want to highlight all these 4? I'll just repeat the 4 again. Okay.
For my sake or for the sake of the audience?
For all of us.
All right, okay.
Okay, so it's for embodiment of knowledge, yoga, that is remembrance, being a great donor, and embodiment of virtues. Yeah.
You know, again, I will say that this perfection has become and is very much a relative term because a perfect one is complete one and his effort or his study or his any endeavor is over, then one becomes perfect. If you can be perfect only by remembering the knowledge, remembering the Almighty, and then finding someone always to be able to donate, and then it becomes like you are wearing a crown subject to the conditions, the 4 conditions, and as soon as one of the or 2 of the conditions are missed, then that crown flies off. So it is, I will say, it is an endeavor towards perfection, which has been said in that Murli, that there are 4 pillars, 4 endeavors or efforts to attain perfection.
Okay, fine. So it should, perfection is not conditional. Great. Another spiritual teaching which we hear here constantly is contentment is a sign of perfection. So Bhai Sahib, if you can just tell us what is the link between being contented and being perfect?
Yes. A contented being, contented individual means he is free from all desires and expectations. Desires arise out of our own mind and expectations are from others. Now, a knowledgeable person who has godly knowledge understands that you get what you deserve, you do not get anything more than you deserve, and similarly, you have to do your own righteous and good actions, and the reward will come from one source or the other. But if I start having a limited thinking, that I did good to so and he must in return do good to me or pay back the good I did. That is called expectation. And many times expectations are not fulfilled for various reasons which cause me sorrow and suffering. Similarly, desires, generally it is said that the lesser desires you have, the more contented you are, but that is no way of being contented. You may be so contented that no desire arises at all. So this is a sign contentment comes first of all by understanding the law of karma that I have got whatever I deserve and having no questions or complaints about any sort of injustice or something unexpected done to me. So therefore, a contented person he is contented at a particular level. Sometimes people think contentment means no ambition, being fatalist, but not so. A contented man understands that as per my qualifications attained up to now, it's okay, and I have to improve my entitlement and qualification to reach a higher level of contentment. But all the same, I am contented at the present for what I am.
Okay, wonderful. I'll just take a few proverbs now from the Lokic world. It is said that perfection consists of not in doing extraordinary things, but in doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. So, how can we do things extraordinarily well if we are just an ordinary person?
Well, the second part of the statement is more realistic. Even extraordinary things can also be done in a perfect way. It is a twist of language just to that you should pay attention to both small and big jobs, big things. But otherwise, it's an exaggerated statement. Why cannot one do extraordinary things also and be perfect?
Beautiful. Yet another one. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can at least catch excellence. So, does it relate in the same way?
It has a basic flaw because if you chase anything like a shadow, it will be always, you will not be able to get it. Just turn back to something and it will follow you like a shadow.
Okay. The next one is quite funny. It says that perfection is boring, but getting better is where all the fun is.
Because the Lumbri said, Angur khatte hain. There is a saying you can translate in English because you cannot attain perfection. So you pass a remark on perfection like, somebody spitting on the moon. Basically, better, good, better, and best, these are the three stages, and better is lower than good. As I told you, in today's terminology, there is a twist of language also. They say better than the best. In that sense, the best becomes boring and better becomes like attainable, realistic.
Right, wonderful. I'll just take one more because it's really very humorous. The next one also is a twist of language. Perfection is the willingness to be imperfect. So,
Oh, again, see,
yeah,
it is, I will narrate you a story on this to make it little interesting. There was a boy and his father were teaching him how to add. So the father asked the boy, if you add 100 and 80, what does it make? So the boy said 240. And the father started petting him and asked the servant to bring a chocolate. You are the best boy. You will bring fame to our family, and so on. A person was passing by. He thought, what is this person doing? The child is saying 100 plus 80 is 240, and he is petting him and giving him chocolate. He could not resist asking him, Sir, why are you praising this child for a wrong answer? He said, you do not know the truth. Yesterday he has said 320. So he has improved upon his previous wrong answer.
Right. So he's on his journey towards being perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll come to a few enemies which don't allow us to become perfect. So I think I'll just take these three enemies. One we call very commonly in our spiritual terms also being lazy, laziness. Second is carelessness. And third, procrastination, like postponing things. So do you want to just cover these in detail, Bhai Sahab?
You see, perfection is a far-fetched thing, a far away goal. These three weaknesses, they are enemies of even our normal, comfortable life. Because many people think that laziness is comfort, but actually, laziness leads to idleness, and it is the greatest punishment you can give to a person. Let him tell him that you be idle, I will not give you any assignment. He will become peaceless and uneasy after some time. So actually perfection and these small enemies are like foot soldiers, and perfection's enemies could be perhaps continental missiles.
Okay. So coming to the word of missile.
Sorry, 1 minute.
Yeah,
Urgent
yeah.
message for Baiji.
Okay.
जी स्टार्ट कर दीजिए.
Om Shanti.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Brij Mohan, Bhai Sahab. Yeah. Okay. So I'll go further with the. Sorry, you were saying something. Yeah.
एक्चुअली वो मॉस्को से एक अर्जेंट कॉल था. एनी हाउ मैं क्या कह रहा था मैं फिर भूल गया. हाँ,
Were saying something about the continental missiles.
what I mean to say, these are enemies of even normal activity of a person, and a person talking of or seeking perfection has to seek more subtle and dangerous enemies. This is what I mean to say.
Okay. Fine. So Actually, speaking of Moscow and also about missiles, someone is asking a very difficult, not difficult, but it's like they're asking that today's talk on perfection, has it got any direct relation to the war which is going on?
Definitely. Everything, every happening in the world drama has a relationship with everything. You know, as per Baba's knowledge, we know that it's a horrible war going on, and further more horrible wars are going to come, and maybe one day Mahabharat may happen. But all this has a silver lining and a blessing in disguise, because everything when it reaches extreme, it has to come to an end, and something opposite has to start. So it has much to do with perfection than we see, because a perfect world order is going to emerge after the extreme is reached in such type of wars. It is a rehearsal only. It's a blessing in disguise. It will bring an end to an era of unrighteous action and sin, because if unless the people are deprived of their bodies, the souls who are on the wrong side will go on committing more wrong and more wrong, causing more grief and more suffering. So this is the climax, but in it is hidden the opening of the gateway to paradise and closing of the gate to hell. In brief, I will say that, and you can expand for others.
Okay. So the next question is all about a few practical questions on how to achieve perfection. So the first one is I'm really trying hard, but I'm not able to achieve perfection in my Lokik business or whatever the brother is doing. So how do I achieve perfection in my Lokik work?
I do not know the working conditions, etc. But basically, my own attitude. What is perfection? Perfect means free from effect and defect. If I can be, whatever are my conditions at work, if I am free from the effect of all happenings, whether I consider them good or bad, beneficial or otherwise to me, if I can be free from the effect, then I will be able to avoid the defect and I will remain perfect. First of all, basically, each one of us has been told by the Almighty and the common sense and drama also that each of us is a perfect creation in by ourselves, and no one individual is I mean to say equal to or similar to the other. We are so perfect, we are so unique, we are so specialized. Once we start with this premise, we have to just protect our protection. That is to say, from the being affected or becoming defective. So we have the example of the lotus flower, that the lotus flower is a symbol of retaining and maintaining our perfection under imperfect conditions. Again, it is conditional because there can be conditions which are conducive to perfection, and you don't need to have any even defense or system also. But under the present imperfect such conditions, one has to protect one's perfection under conditions of imperfection. So for that, we have to be immune or free from any effect or defect. As in our lessons, we are taught that we should not get any feeling of elation or dejection from anything that we do or is done to us.
So fantastic, Bhai Sahib, you covered 2 points here. One is about attitude and the second is about having balance. So I would just ask a question first about balance. As you beautifully mentioned that we need to practice having this equanimity or balance between many different aspects. One example is master and child, being Malik and Balak. So do you want to tell us a few more examples of how balance in life can lead us to perfection?
Basic idea is that if you are experiencing or approaching or reaching one extreme, you have to counterbalance it by the other side. As in the medical science, the doctor Saab is sitting here, you have to keep a perfect balance. For instance, the body may require very little magnesium and a particular quantity of sugar. Now, if people are not able to absorb sugar, so they become diabetic. And if a little magnesium is a very little requirement, but if its balance is changed, it is less or more, then it can affect the whole body. So balance does not mean 50-50. It means the ratio in which those things we require for leading a life, healthy life physically and mentally. So therefore, one has to see, sometimes you overwork, then you require extra rest. If you are normally working, you just require normal rest. So this is the idea. Body itself has and the mind itself has lot of capacity to adjust, and they try to adjust. Anything you put extra in the body, it tries to throw out, but with effort, it has to make some effort, use the resources to throw it out. The best thing is not to let that happen. That, for example, the deities whom we worship in the temples, they never went for walking, jogging, or workout. The deities we mentioned in the temple, because they had a balanced life. Similarly, we have to reach that. But basic thing is, these conditions, that imperfect condition that we live in, we have to adjust to uncertainties. That is to say, we should presume, and as it is evident, there are a lot of uncertainties. We cannot plan our own time. We cannot plan our own program or the events that we come across. So at the present situation in the world, we have to be very versatile and we have to be able to adjust under all conditions. And for that, first thing is to create a buffer between the soul and the worldly situation. And the buffer can be created through our body. So we have to, if we are getting attached to the body, it is like, we are sort of making Ukraine the border of the European Union or NATO. So you want a buffer in between, and that buffer can be created by remaining soul conscious, remaining underground, remaining in the bunker. In other words, we have to perform through the body, but not get attached to the body. That is, we call Karmati Avastha, Videhi Avastha, Ashriri Avastha. And that will create a very nice situation for us to be safe while under attacking situation. That is number one. Again, I will come to the word perfection. When we are all the talk we are having about perfection is attaining a what you call imaginary state. Just as equator is an imaginary line. Similarly, perfection in today's times, because it requires a proper time and a proper place and a proper situation for anything to be retained and sustained. Here, all of us are trying to attain perfection, but how is it possible to attain perfection in an imperfect world? So we must, first of all, accept this principle that in today's world, perfection is just an objective. It is just a cherished goal. And of course, there will be a situation of perfection under which we need not endeavor for perfection. Here's, for instance, if you want to save ice, you have to create conditions of vacuum or a thermos or a fridge to save ice. But on the Himalayas, ice is naturally saved and protected. So this is very important. And here comes the role of the perfect being who is not only perfect, but who makes other things perfect. You know, you make your surroundings the like of you. If there is a fire, it will it will try to heat up everything around to the extent of its power. Similarly, God Almighty, God is perfect, ever perfect, was perfect, is perfect, and will be perfect, and He makes imperfect things perfect. So, if we can understand the connection of ourselves with God, the best way to become perfect is to connect ourselves to the source of perfection. The one who is ever perfect has never been imperfect. All others, if they become perfect, even the nature becomes perfect in the golden era. Everything in the nature happens properly at the right time, at the right place, in the right manner. And today it is the reverse. Anything can happen to anyone, anytime, anywhere, most imperfect conditions. So those perfect conditions, if we want for ourselves, the root and the soul, which is can be connected to God. If we connect that soul to God, all types of perfection will naturally emerge in us, and they will become stronger. As you said in the beginning, that there are four pillars to perfection, and one is the constant remembrance of Almighty. If we do that, and then naturally a constant connection with the Almighty, anything that imperfection is going to influence us, affect us, we will be automatically saved off and protected.
Okay, wonderful explanation, Bhai Sahab. Linking this, as you mentioned, that in order to be perfect, I need to establish, or rather, I need to make my connection to the Almighty stronger. So, for that, I need to develop something which is taught here, the attitude of unlimited disinterest. In Hindi, we say Behad ki Vairag Vritti. So, do you want to explain us how to develop this attitude?
It is very simple. Either you can be attractive or you can be attracted. If I want to be attractive, the first requirement is that I should not get attracted. Okay? Because if I get attracted, I cannot be attractive. So this is the meaning of unlimited, what you call disinterest, that if you want to have unlimited interest, connection, or a constant link with the perfect one, you naturally have to unlink, disconnect yourself from other things. Because if you can't be having connection with both perfection and imperfection in order to achieve perfection, because in that case you will be only achieving imperfection, although you think that I am connected with the perfect being. So to be able to gain from the perfect being, to become perfect, I have to disconnect myself with all imperfect things. So this is called unlimited disinterest, because the interest we were having with all other things, they were not perfect. If you multiply 1/2 by 1/2, normally multiplication gives you more. But here 1/2 multiplied by 1/2 makes it 1/4. It reduces whatever you have by half.
The next question, brother is asking that I have been practicing meditation of Brahma Kumaris since a long time. He's not mentioned how much time, and I feel that I am still not that perfect, or the perfection I still can't see in myself. So is there some problem in my meditation or my connection with Almighty?
Well, if a student does not get into the next class for 4 years, for example, what should that student think? Because anything that has to be done, there is also a period limit for that. You have to do within that period. Rather, a little in lesser time, that is called pass with honors. So it means, first of all, it is not the meditation of Brahma Kumaris. It is the meditation which the Brahma Kumaris practice. It is a universal meditation. Number two, meditation is not a such type of a part-time hobby. Meditation is like a natural, direct, constant connection, loveful connection. You cannot have a connection forever or constantly unless there is the element of love in that. And element of love in that comes only when you are really feeling some gain from it. If a businessman is making profit, he will be even opening his shop overnight because he is earning profit. So if we are doing it mechanically, without any element of love, without any feeling of success or attainment, naturally it becomes like a routine thing, and it will take much longer time to get very little.
Okay, and as you mentioned rightly about the love concept, so I'll just take another spiritual concept which is taught here very routinely for attaining perfection. It's mentioned, Bhai Sahib, you have to explain that perfection is the loving feeling for everyone. So you want to explain this?
It's a profound and a nice statement because love cannot be compartmentalized. Either you love all, or if you are thinking that I love some and hate others, so love does not have is not conditional or partial. A loveful person will be loveful to all. And if I limit my love to certain people, it means I am not really having the quality of love, because others, I am depriving others of my love to give more love to some people, which has a selfish content. So it's a very profound and nice statement. Any quality, if you have, it will be visible in our conduct with all. Because say if there is an angry person becomes angry with everyone, even with his nearest and dearest one, even with himself, because anger is inside, and as the situation will arise, one will show that anger.
Okay, so Bhai Sahib, we have 10 more minutes left. Is that okay? We'll take till 9:30, no? A few questions.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks. So I'll just take another question about someone is saying that I am on my journey towards perfection. How will I know what are the signs of a perfect person? Am I going right on the journey? What are the signs?
I gave you the example of the child. He is reducing his margin of error, reaching towards correct answer. So everyone can feel, if one is on a journey, that is there any change in his index of happiness, in his index of peace, in his index of stability, of patience, of humility. One can understand that.
Okay, beautiful answer. I'll take this two words in Hindi which are very similar to Sampurna, Sam, that is perfection. This Saman and Sameep, that is similar and near. So do you want to explain similar to what and near to what?
Yes. There is a day with fog, and your visibility is limited to a few yards. And you find in the fog some figure is there at some distance within your range of visibility, but you are not able to figure out who that person is. whether that person is a male or a female or a friend or someone. So this is called, your Hindi word was?
Sameep and Saman.
Yes.
Hindi word.
So he is Sameep. He is quite near. He is not very far off, that he is not at all visible, but you are not able to make out who he is. The image comes closer and closer. It stands by your side. And now you can more visibly see who that person is. Similarly, Sameepa means coming closer, and Saman means just coming very near, close to you. So this is called Saman, means when you can see that person. And naturally, whether he is an alien, whether he is friendly or not, so only friendly people will be near to you. Others, for various reasons, say, I have got ego or anger. So people will not like to come closer to me. They may respect my position or whatever it is, which they have to do under compulsion from a distance. So when these are used in the spiritual sense, it means first we become closer to perfection or to the giver of perfection, Almighty, and then we become still closer, and one day we get those qualities which the perfect one wants to give us. A teacher wants to teach a student to the extent that student can give fame to the teacher, and every teacher would like that my student should not fail at all, at least he should pass, and more students will pass with honors. So this is the way it works. So we have, as they say, Sankarang. Now Holi is coming and people go on and put colors on others. It means to say, actually it is Sankarang. A person is known by the company he keeps. If I keep company of angry people or people with the sort of ego, I will also get that as a contagious disease. That is why they said, Acha Sang Karo. And the best company is the company of God.
Fantastic explanation about Saman and Sameep. Okay, you mentioned about another stage of perfection, another word for that stage. It is called Karmati Stage. It's mentioned in the spiritual language quite often. So just want to quickly explain what is this Karmati Stage?
Yes, normally all actions bring their fruit, bitter or sweet. So normally this is called motivation in the language of in the worldly language. Motivation. What is the motivation for your actions? And these days you have to give some special motivation or inducement which people can appreciate. That is why the corporates give 1 month's salary as a bonus or so many other incentives for doing things. Yet the people they forget their normal emolument and remuneration. They think that is nothing, that is normal. If something extra comes, then they are motivated to function. Even bribe is a part of that. A person is supposed to do his duty, but if you want him to pay special attention to what you want, you give some bribe. It is called motivation. So therefore, this motivation or incentive is artificial. One should be naturally motivated, and that motivation is the reward of one's action in the form of peace, happiness, harmony, pleasantness, which leads to happiness, good mood, and a person's being comfortable. So all people work for that. And therefore, what I am saying is that these particular essentials in our character, in our being, in our sort of mind are very important For these are the wealth actually which a person should retain and use, and one will really feel, to the extent we use them, we will find ourselves happy, light, and find some charm and bliss and grace in life.
Okay, so I'm sorry to say there are many questions coming, but we won't take in the interest of time. I'll just take this last question. Bhai Sahib wanted to know a few examples about your perfect ideals from the Brahma Kumaris organization. So, do you want to give us a few examples of how the founder father Brahma Baba, and also very fondly we used to call the administrative head, the first one, Mama. So, do you want to give your personal life examples of how they were really perfect in their dealings?
Well, most fortunately, the Brahma Kumaris have the benefit of the one and the only perfect being in the universe, who is unaffected, who is Karmati, who is always benevolent, who wants nothing but has everything to give. And that is Almighty Incorporeal God. The example of those who have always something to give and not get, even the physical sun is an example of that. Physical sun does not require any heat or light from any source, but it is an eternal, constant, perfect giver of heat and light, physical to the physical world. Similarly, Almighty can be compared to the spiritual sun, which gives similar light and enthusiasm to the souls. So, because everything is coming from that Almighty source, and even this organization was founded not for making only Brahma Baba or the Mother perfect, but making them medium of passing on the God's these powers and qualities and knowledge. Three things. God is knowledgeful, having perfect knowledge. God has all the divine, subtle spiritual powers, is the ocean of those, and then the virtues arising out of those powers. Powers and virtues are different. A mango tree has the power to produce mangoes, but the mango fruit is the final virtue, the phal of that. So all those things coming from the perfect being, and naturally the Almighty selects those souls who have the capacity to imbibe to the maximum those qualities and then pass on to others. Basically, they did not just get those for themselves, like the roots of a tree. The roots, whatever they get from the soil and the seed, they pass upwards. Even the last leaf of the tree is sustained by those roots. So the mother and father, they played that role. They were basically instrumental in passing on that perfection to others, making them perfect. In the process, they naturally became perfect. And the formula they told us is the same, that instead of trying to be perfect, we pass on that perfection and say, I tell other people, don't be angry. So even I am the most angry person, slowly and slowly, my anger will be gone. So this is the process. This is called Devata. This is how we can learn even from the elements. The sun is a Devata because just gives and gives. Similarly, ocean is a Devata. We call all the elements as Devatas. We as human beings, as souls, can also become Devatas. The basic source of Brahma Kumaris for attaining perfection is become a Devata. So this contentment, etc., will naturally come. And second is a very important thing, that be benevolent, be a well-wisher, always think good. So because my mind needs happiness, and happiness comes from only good. If I always think good of others, naturally I think good of myself. No person can think good of himself unless he thinks good of others, because goodness is a virtue. So this is the second process, that always be well-wishers of all and always be a giver. These two mantras will bring us closer to this perfection and always make us feel contented with about our state of perfection.
Fantastic. Thank you for summarizing in these two things that be a well-wisher and be a giver all the time. So with this, and thank you so much, Bhai Sahab, once again for sharing your wisdom and your time with us, despite being so busy in all the activities there. I would now request Sister Claudia to do the vote of thanks. Yeah, over to you.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Bhai Sahab, very, very thanks to you for telling us about all those points about perfection and make so easy actually to understand, because sometimes we think perfection is something that I cannot reach there, but you made very easy for us to understand the stage of be content or whatever you explain. So that makes us think, yes, I can reach there. So thank you very much, Bhai Sahab, for taking your time. I know you are so busy, but you still say Haji to us. And so thank you in the name of everyone who is here today. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Yeah, and thank you once again. And Bhai Sahab, we are still awaiting your presence for the 50th episode. This is the 34th. So when we have our Golden Jubilee, we will be the speaker for that. So thanks once again. Okay. Om Shanti. Yeah. Om Shanti. Yeah. So we'll go on with Anu's sister. You can do the announcements, and then we'll take the meditation and drishti from Sister Claudia. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Thank you very much. Okay, so our next program will be again filling in the power to become perfect. So it is power to pack up. This is our second session of the series of talks on power that we have started. So power to pack up or let go will be doing just after 24 hours. That is tomorrow morning, morning 7 a.m. for West Coast, US and Canada. That's 8:30 p.m. India time. We'll have our senior brother again, Atam Prakash brother from the headquarters of Brahma Kumaris, Mount Abu. So join us then. This is our the joining links. Please note. And as usual, we'll do the values workshop on perfection after a week. That's Saturday, 12th of March. 7:45 p.m. India time, that's 6:15 a.m. West Coast time. And first hour will be the experiential exercises on perfection. And then we'll have insightful talk and meditation with Sister Gayatri, who will be joining us from New York, USA. Please note and join us then. And this month we celebrate Holi, that is the celebrations of color and colors actually. So we will understand the spiritual significance of Holi with Sister Sapna. She will be joining us from China, and it's happening on Saturday, 19th of March, morning 9 a.m. for India time. And that makes it 18th March, Friday, evening 8:30 p.m. for West Coast, US and Canada. So please note. And our next session on Values for Life series is episode 35 on cleanliness, that is in Hindi, Swachhata. And for that, we'll have our senior brother, Brother Ken Ordinal from Brazil. He's the regional coordinator of South America, Brahma Kumaris. And it's happening 2 weeks after, that is on 19th of March, Saturday, evening 8 p.m. India time. That makes it 7:30 a.m. West Coast time. So there is a little change as the daylight saving time change is happening in US and Europe. So join us then, and you can get all the information and joining links of all these programs on our websites. Visit us at vihasa.in and vancouver.brahmakumaris.ca. And you can get all the videos in all the languages. Today the Spanish translation didn't happen well, but you can find the videos in all languages on Vihasa India YouTube, as well as Brahma Kumaris Vancouver YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Manu.
So thank you, Sister Anu, and we now move on to taking Drishti from Sister Claudia and do the closing meditation with her.
Om Shanti. I take a moment and go inside myself, very deep within. I remind myself as a soul, I have all the qualities in a perfect stage. Those are my qualities in the original stage of I, the soul. I do not need to chase for them because is within myself. When I have that stage, I become very content. I don't need to have love from anyone. I do not need to be accepted by anyone. I just need to be me. Because that is what I am. Originally, I am a perfect being. And I'm going to go towards that perfection. When I get that stage, I will feel very free, very light. Nothing is going to affect me. Then I know my perfection stage arrive. I know that I'm living a life of liberation. No worries, no fear. Everything is all right. Today, I'm taking with me all those points that shows me how I can work towards my perfection. And I repeat for myself, and I will check, then I'll feel happy. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
The time has come to shed your earthly garment, to take your place There's nothing left to fear. Just take my hand and I will lead you back home. Spread your angel wings and fly. The gravity of love will take you higher. This I promise you, my child. The time has come. We're all going home. Going home. We're all going home. We're all going home. Spread your angel wings and fly. The gravity of love will take you higher. This I promise you, my child. The time has come. We're all going home.
So thank you so much, Sister Claudia, and we'll see you in the next 24 hours with the power to pack up and let go. Thank you.